Good morning. Good morning. I'm so happy to see a full room on this very cold, beautiful snowy morning. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, for leaving your homes to come and join us to celebrate and be together and learn about how important this day is, this day of service on Martin Luther King Day. I am Mayor Sherry Cantor, and it is a pleasure for me to be here today for the 29th annual celebration in West Hartford of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The music you just heard was from our talented Conard High School Jazz Combo. Please give them a round of applause. These very committed, brilliant young musicians, we have Wojtek Karashi on trombone, Oliver Van Ostrand on drums, Catherine Zaire on bass, Andrew Fahn on piano, and Louisa, that's my granddaughter's name, Louisa McDonough on saxophone. Special thanks to their band director, Michael Wyatt. Again, thank you so much. The jazz combos at each of our high schools alternate performances at this annual event. Conard High School Jazz Combo is a student-run group performing throughout Hartford. They arrange music for their combo, play jazz and standards with their own flair. Again, thank you so much for joining us. While the jazz combo was playing, you were treated to a slideshow that took place behind the scenes, captured at our elementary students working on the MLK art project. The finished products are in the hallway. Special thanks to Craig Diamond for creating these fantastic presentations. Thank you, Craig. And Craig was my youngest son's fifth grade teacher, so he has a special place in my heart. Since 1997, West Hartford has been remembering the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a spiritual leader who has changed the course of American history. During that time, more than 1,000 West Hartford public school students have participated in this event with their schools' choirs, jazz bands, and as speakers. We have a cross-section of clergy who provided prayers and renowned keynote speakers from across Connecticut. Today's celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's life is a result of a dedicated group of people who planned this event. They are town historian Tracy Wilson, so happy to see you here. Also representing Hidden History, staff from West Hartford, also representing Hidden History. We also have staff from West Hartford Public Schools, including Ann McKernan, let's see, Kristen Banning, Jessica Blitzer, Craig Diamond, Stuart Yonts, Katie Frewen, Michael Wyatt, and Andrew Mayo, Kalia Alston Griffin, and the West Hartford African American and Social and Cultural Club, Adrian Billings Smith of Concerned Parents of Color of West Hartford, and our town's equity coordinator, and Renee McHugh, public relations specialist in the town of West Hartford. I want to give this group a round of applause because an enormous amount of work goes into this day. We have a lot of dignitaries in the House. I just want to recognize members of our Town Council, Board of Education. We have Deputy Mayor Ben Winograd. You can hold the applause till the end, will be probably helpful. Deputy Mayor Ben Winograd is here, Councilor Barry Walters, Town Clerk Leon Davidoff, Latoya Yagaloff, you will be hearing from. Claire Nassarella is here. Superintendent Paul Vasinis is here. We have Commissioner Beth Bai is here. Didn't see her. Town Manager Rick Ledwith, Fire Chief Greg Priest, Assistant Chief Jay Silver, Assistant Fire Chief Adam Pacheco, Fire Chief Bob Grimaldi. Who did I forget? Deputy Director of Emergency Management Bob McHugh. Probate Judge Owen Egan and Counselor Tiffany McGinnis is also here. If I didn't see you and recognize you, could you raise your hand? Okay, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for our officers that are also here to provide service and help us celebrate this community event. Okay, now back to, that's always the hardest part, is announcing all the people. A special thanks goes to Jennifer Evans and West Hartford Community Interactive for live streaming this event and so many events that can be brought to homes, especially on a cold day. And to Nothing Bundt Cakes for graciously donating Bundt Teeny Cakes for your refreshment today. This year, Concerned Parents of Color West Hartford is hosting a craft in the auditorium lobby entitled Building Community One Hand at a Time. Everyone is welcome to write a word that describes community to you on one of the pre-cut out hands and place it on the board. You can also include your name. There are Martin Luther King Jr. coloring sheets for kids, younger kids. We will show you the finished product by the end of the program. So I was thinking about it's a very enriched program, and really the words of our students are just so powerful. But I just want to take a moment to say, thinking about this day, this is a time of change in our country. It's a time of new beginnings, a time of endings, and a time of uncertainty. And I know it is hard for many people to enter into change and transition. And so thinking about people that are optimistic or people that are hopeful. So, optimism and hope is one of those things that are hard to define in a way and differentiate. Optimism is a kind of a blind kind of feeling that things are going to get better. Hope is an action. Hope is trying to make things better. It takes movement. It takes stepping forward to create the hope that you want to see. And so people say an opportunity, well, things will work out, right? And you just step back and you watch what happens. Where people with hope actually make the change to say, I am hopeful that things will work out, but I'm going to do these things to make that happen. And so that's sort of what I want you to think about today, and think about as throughout this amazingly inspirational program. But as Dr. King said, a couple of the quotes we always hear is, it's always the right time to do what is right, right? So those are things that are really critical. Well, always, as we're thinking about entering into new times, it's always right to do what is right. I'll give you a little story about one of the things that I think is, we don't have to write. One of the things that Dr. King, I think this actually came before Dr. King, but one of the things that he shared with people, you don't have to do great things, but you do small things in a great way, right? That's the message. So one of the things, I have a 96-year-old mother, and she lives in the house I grew up in, which is a little challenging at times, and our public safety knows that. I'm like, and she reads, she's very mentally there, but she's a little frail and small and fragile, and she reads the paper from cover to cover every day. And the paper delivery was, she has front steps, and the paper delivery was at the bottom of the steps, and was being delivered. And she called the paper and she said, I'm a 95, this was last year, I'm a 95-year-old woman, and I really need the paper delivered to the top of the stairs so I can open up my door and get the paper. And they're like, sure, sure, sure. And sure enough, the paper was still at the bottom of the step. And so I mentioned it to her neighbor, her next door neighbor, who has a son. And she said, she had a 5-year-old son at the time, we're going to help. So every day, Daniel, no matter what the weather, no matter what's going on, Daniel, 5 years old, now he's 6, goes over and carries the paper up the stairs and leaves it right at her front door. My mom didn't know that Daniel was doing that. She thought, oh, they listened to me. The paper delivery has changed and they're going to do this. But I can't tell you how important it is for my mom to open up the door and see that paper there. And Daniel is learning how to really change somebody's life in this very sweet way. He's never asked for anything, and now that my mom knows, she wants to give him gifts, and his mom is like, no, he just needs to know that this is an important thing to do to help a neighbor. So those kind of small things, I feel like Daniel is doing a small thing in a really great way. So We have an amazing program for you today. The theme of this year's event comes at Dr. King's message about resiliency. He said, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk or crawl. But do whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. So, and in this time of change, we know that's so true. Our speakers today will draw from King's words and provide their perspectives of what will surely be an inspirational program that will resonate with you on this national holiday and in the days to come. The words certainly resonate with me. There are so many examples of West Hartford's resiliency. We are constantly presented with challenges, and together we work to find solutions. One great example is our Vision Zero Action Plan. As you may know, the town is on a mission to eliminate accidents and fatalities on our streets by 2033 by focusing on 3 areas: enforcement, engineering, and education. We have already implemented over 70 action items that range from road improvements to lower speeds to handing out reflective armbands to keep our pedestrians visible and safe when walking outdoors at night. Please take one there on the refreshment table. And I would just add, I know we have so much more work to do, but especially when weather turns, please drive slow and look out for each other. We are a community and we really want to protect each other. So let's keep our roads safe. And now we formally begin our program, and it is my honor to introduce our MC. I'm pleased to do our master ceremony, Latoya Yagaloff, my colleague for the West Hartford Board of Education. Latoya is a dedicated leader in restorative practices, committed to healing communities. As an award-winning author, educator, and administrator, she has catalyzed reform in various ways, including reshaping discipline policies in schools, local government, and in juvenile justice system. Latoya is the founder of Beyond Circles Restorative Justice Consulting. She facilitates conflict mediation and district-wide restorative justice training in grades K through 12 and leadership development in the nonprofit and higher education sectors. She is the founder of Youth Hype, a community-based organization that inspires youth to be civically engaged and self-aware. Her leadership and advocacy for marginalized communities have earned congressional acknowledgement. She is a champion for change, and we're so lucky to have her service on the Board of Education. Thank you, Latoya.
All right. Good morning, West Hartford. We can do better than that, y'all. Good morning, West Hartford. I am so excited and honored to be here with you today. Neighbors, friends, and families, thank you so much, Mayor Cantor, for that thoughtful introduction. I'm happy to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for our 29th annual celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I just want to say, he was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but he was also a minister, a man of faith. And he wasn't just a man of faith on Sundays at church. He took his ministry to the streets and he walked the walk when it came to love and inclusion. He loved his neighbors through action. And, I only hope to kind of create half of the legacy that he did, right? And so just honored to be here on his behalf. Today, we're going to bring you another memorable event that'll get your feet tapping along, and we have talented musicians and singers, and your soul's gonna be surging with inspiration as we hear from our speakers, both young and, I like to say, gold. I don't like to call people old, right? Because if it wasn't for the elders in this room who stood up, I wouldn't be here today. So you're gold, all right? And I also wanted to share something before I lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, especially as we're talking about resilience. I think one thing we want to be really mindful of this year in particular around resilience is rest. And so I'm going to read a quote from Tricia Hersey, who is the founder and author of the Nat Ministry, about rest during this time, rest as resistance. We must stand and lay firmly in the space of creating a life filled with rest and radical care, even amid oppression. Rest is resistance is our tagline and mantra, our call. Rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. Both these toxic systems refuse to see the inherent divinity in human beings and have used bodies as a tool for production, evil, and destruction for centuries. Grind culture has made us all human machines, willing and ready to donate our lives to a capitalist system that thrives by placing profits over people. The Rest is Resistance movement is a connection and a path back to our true nature. We are stripped down to who we really were before the terror of capitalism and white supremacy. We are enough. We are divine. And so my call to action to all of you today is to get a lot of rest this year. And so now we're going to say our Pledge of Allegiance, going to take a stand. And I ask that after we say the pledge, we remain standing as I introduce Reverend Dr. Adam Rober Smith of the Universalist Church of West Hartford, who's going to give the invocation. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. We'll stay standing. All right. So from year to year, the MLK Committee thoughtfully selects a member from a different faith community to give the opening prayer. Today, we are fortunate to have Reverend Dr. Adam Rober Smith. Reverend Rober Smith is a Unitarian Universalist minister, spiritual director, and scholar who has studied biology, theology, history, human development, and the arts. He serves the Universalist Church of West Hartford as their senior minister and on the board of trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Association. He is also a fiber artist, weightlifter, and cook who lives and gardens out in the woods with his partner of nearly 30 years. We about to hang out after this program today. So cool. So come on up, Dr. Reverend Rober Smith.
Thank you. I did not know y'all were going to read the entire bio. I am very honored to be here with you all today, and I would ask you to join in a moment of prayer, intention, and reflection. Spirit of life and love, who we know in many ways and by many names, we come together today inspired by and honoring the vision and living legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We come together as members of many communities, our families, this town, this state, our nation, the entire world. Communities all moving through time together. And so we remember with gratitude those who have gone before us, and we imagine with hope those who will come after us. In this moment, let us discover you, abundant spirit, justice-seeking spirit, compassionate spirit that exists within us and among us and beyond us. Let us discover you in ourselves, in one another, and in the whole of the world. Let us discover the resilience and the connections that we need so that we may strive to cherish, preserve, and strengthen what is good. Together, we may fix the broken, save the endangered, befriend the lonely, heal the wounded, and raise up, free the oppressed. And in this work, we will honor our ancestors and encourage our descendants to fly or run, walk or crawl, or roll, or dance, or lead, or dream. May it be so.
Thank you so much for that wonderful indication. I hope you all felt it. I did. So the Hall High School Choraleers are going to give the first musical performance singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, a song that makes me emotional every time I hear it. This song is considered the Black National Anthem. The song was originally a poem by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson, and then it was set to music by his brother John Rosman Johnson in 1899. You are invited to sing along. You know, hit the notes that feel comfortable for you. And the words are in your program.
Lift every voice and sing to the heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song for
Thank you so much. Still hear me? Can y'all hear me? I think, can you all hear me? All right. I'm also loud, so it's fine. Thank you so much for that beautiful performance. It was so wonderful. And keeping this year's theme, we asked local clergy and community leaders to respond to the question, what does it mean to be resilient? And this video captures their thoughts.
Resilience, what it means to me. Plowing through. Perseverance, endurance. Getting to the other side. Not letting anybody keep you down. Stick-to-itiveness. Yes, on this Martin Luther King Day. Resilience is a good word and the mantra of many.
Resilience for me is knowing you are fragile. The sad knowledge that you can fall apart. It is understanding that what drives you is not always courage, but a profound need to mend and repair injustice and heartbreak. Resilience is that quiet purpose of endurance, the steady determination to take one step forward, even when it feels impossible.
To me, resilience means finding small ways to make a difference, even when you're feeling hopeless. Sometimes I feel completely overwhelmed by challenges in today's world. But when I feel stuck, I try to look for small ways to help someone. If I can do something to make someone else's day better, then I'm taking steps to move us both forward. And making connections with another person helps me to fight the hopelessness and gives me strength to reach out more, help more people, and continue the cycle.
Resilience is best summed up for me through the wisdom of Simon Sinek, who challenges us to deeply understand and lead from our why. The musical talents of Aletta Adams, whose 1991 hit song Get Here reminds us that goals should be reached any way that we can, and the Mamba mentality of Kobe Bryant, who says that we need to focus on the process and trust that the hard work that you've put in will show up when you need it the most. Resilience is your ability to harness your will and determination to succeed.
Every single one of us is different. We each have unique talents, unique abilities, personalities, and we think differently. And we're given that because each of us has a mark that we need to make on our environment and on the world. Resilience means no matter what circumstances you are, you realize that I'm in this specific moment, in this specific circumstances, and I can do something. We're never stuck. Even if it means just one step forward, we have the ability, and ultimately we will see the change we can create.
Beautiful. Thank you to Rabbi Shaya Gopin of the Shabbat House of Greater Hartford, Laura Ermsher, Director of the West Hartford Public Library, Gail Crockett, Mike Keogh, and Teresa Rengel for sharing what resiliency means to you. So now my favorite part of the program, each year, one student from our high schools, both of our high schools, is selected to deliver the student perspective speech on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Students are nominated by their teachers based on classroom observation, student work, products, and a passion for history and or social justice. And we're so honored to have students here today because there was a time where we used to tell the youth, oh, youth, you lead the movement and we'll follow you. And I think we've realized that it's actually, we need to walk shoulder to shoulder with them. And I think we've finally gotten to that point where we're not saying you lead the fight and we stand behind you, but we're standing in the fight with you. And so really exciting times for that. The two students chosen this year are Asha Comiso of Conard High School and Maxwell St. Armand of Hall High School. Let's hear from Asha Comiso of Conard High School, and then we'll have Maxwell come after. Come on up.
In 1955, 40,000 African Americans boycotted the Montgomery bus system. They were led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. In 2025, people of all races sit together on public transportation. In 1963, MLK advocated for desegregation with the Birmingham Campaign. In 2025, segregation is illegal and no one can be denied based on the color of their skin. In 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. led a march in Selma, Alabama that resulted in the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In 2025, everyone has the opportunity to vote and contribute their voice to America. So much has changed in 60 years, yet so much has stayed the same. The fight for justice and equality is never ending. These historical milestones I just shared do not tell the whole story. Let me give you some context. The Montgomery bus boycott of 1955 resulted in the legal desegregation of public transportation. However, disparities remain as transit systems serving majority white communities tend to be faster and better maintained than those serving predominantly people of color. For example, in my birthplace of Oakland, California, the transit system was designed in the 60s to speed white suburban commuters past Black inner-city residents and has not been updated to this day. In Birmingham in 1963, over 1,000 African-American students skipped school to protest segregation in what became known as the Children's Crusade. Their efforts helped pave the way for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which ended segregation in Birmingham and across America. Sadly, examples of segregation still exist. In our area, the Hartford Magnet School System was created in 1996 to desegregate schools. It's hard to understand that it took until 2020 for Hartford to remove racial quotas in magnet schools. These quotas unfairly penalized already marginalized students of color. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 prohibited voting rules that deny the right to vote based on race. Today, in many states, there are voting rules that directly and overwhelmingly affect people of color. 1 in every 13 voting-age African American cannot vote due to felony disenfranchisement. This rate is 4 times higher than all other Americans. Think about this. Criminals can't vote, but they can become president. On paper, all Americans are equal. King was in attendance when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law. The act forbade discrimination or segregation on the ground of race, color, religion, or national origin. But although we are past the days of legal segregation, racism still exists, subtler at times, but just as impactful. Discrimination is apparent in every single town and city in America. Dr. King accomplished so much throughout his life, and the work he started remains unfinished. Effecting change isn't easy. It means trying and failing and picking yourself back up to try again. MLK did this numerous times. He was arrested on almost 30 occasions. His resilience, his ability to keep moving forward, and his commitment is what led to his success. He fully committed to nonviolence and to loving one another wholeheartedly. To fight hatred with hatred, violence with violence is easy. To fight hate with love, that takes courage. We can't stop fighting for equality and justice in the country and the world. We can't stop and we can't take a break because, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., justice too long delayed is justice denied. And if you look around and think that there is no racism in our town, think again. We live in a town where students, my peers, are saying racial slurs. This is a place where slavery existed, and up until a few years ago, our town green was named after a former slave owner. It's not by chance that West Hartford's predominantly white. Documented discriminatory policies allowed white homeowners to prevent Black or brown families from buying their homes. So do not disregard this issue simply because you feel it doesn't affect you directly. I have a challenge for you today. I believe that change, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. As an individual, how can you affect change? It does not have to be very public or on a large scale. Call out microaggressions, challenge stereotypes, educate yourself further. Do not be ignorant. The word ignorant suggests innocence, but there is no innocence in racism. Right now, we are entering a time where people may lose the very rights we fought hard for. So every conversation, every letter written, every time you just show up for a cause makes a difference. What action will you commit to today? I thought it would be appropriate to finish with the words of Amanda Gorman that she spoke exactly 4 years ago today. There is always light if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Thank you.
Is Maxwell here? Oh, come on up. Come on up, King.
Thank you so much for having me, but I'm actually sharing this space with the wonderful singer you saw earlier, so.
Hi. When we think of Martin Luther King, we often focus on his groundbreaking speeches, his invigorating marches, and his leadership in the civil rights movement. But one aspect we tend to overlook is his unfaltering resilience. To be met with a country repulsed by your very existence, yet to refuse hatred or resentment and instead embrace a new sense of duty. That is the true measure of his strength. Dr. King transformed his struggle into purpose, lifting others from the grip of racism. He once said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." He understood that there will be setbacks and moments of discouragement, but he always looked beyond them. He had seen the mountaintop and glimpse of a future of freedom and equality. He knew of the path forward wasn't about avoiding challenges, but about how we responded to them. Even now, even though it might not seem like it, his spirit of resilience guides us. When we face trials and tribulations, we have two choices: to give into hopelessness or follow Dr. King's example and confront these challenges with unwavering determination. He taught us that hope is not passive optimism, but the courage to act in moments of despair. Dr. King's work was for all people. He brought together individuals from every walk of life, regardless of race, faith, or circumstance. He didn't just lead marches, he invited others to walk beside him. He didn't just speak powerful words, he showed us how to live in them. The impact of Dr. King's legacy is undeniable. As an individual who grew up in the South, I've experienced firsthand the importance of representation and the need to reflect of our history as a nation. Even now, in 2025, we face the same resistance to change that killed Dr. King. Truths once considered self-evident are now being erased from our classrooms, our curriculums, and the stories we pass down to our future generations. The denial of my great-grandfather's struggles is not just a denial of their pain, it is a denial of their strength, dignity, and humanity. This attempt to diminish their stories is an affront to the lessons that they left for us, and Dr. King's legacy calls us to stand firm, to safeguard the truth, and make it the foundation of our collective consciousness. I leave you with one of my favorite quotes from him. "We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." It's important to note that that arc does not bend towards justice on its own. It bends because of the hands of those that pull it. On this day, let us not be disheartened by the resistance we might encounter in the future, but see it as a sign that the fight for justice is as vital as ever. Starting in our own communities, we can ensure that Dr. King's spirit of resilience and faith continues to guide us. Together, let us carry his unyielding spirit forward, proving that no force can extinguish the light of justice, unity, and hope. Thank you.
The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. Martin Luther King Jr. These words carry a truth we need now more than ever, especially on a day like today. Dr. King envisioned a world where he no longer saw the lynching of his people and the bombing of his neighborhoods, a vision of an equal America we're only just now seeing come to focus. As a young boy in segregated Atlanta, he already recognized the value of looking beyond skin color and at a person's character. He befriended a white neighbor whose dad owned a local store. They played games for hours, inseparable, but King saw the ties of their friendship begin to tear when they both began school, separate schools. Their falling out reached a breaking point when the boy's father demanded that he no longer play with Martin. Devastated, King would question his mom at dinner about why. Why had his friend forsaken him? Why had their friendship been destroyed? For the first time in his life, Martin was aware of the race issue that ruled America, an issue that would plague his mind for the next 30 years. The pain of racial rejection that would plant the seeds of activism within Martin and ignite the flame of his perseverant spirit. Whether supportive of his, quote, passive mode of protest or not, what's undeniable is that his message is exceedingly prevalent, especially in our modern America. As we together experience a dually important day as citizens, let's remember the sentiment of Dr. King, one of hope, one of strength, and the initiative to not remain silent in the face of injustice, not remain idle when met with inequality, and stand up at the first instance of wrongdoing. I can still remember the first time I heard the I Have a Dream speech almost a decade ago. It was a time of political tension my 7-year-old self had never seen before, a time of stark division and unprecedented tribalism, and a time where orange was definitely not my favorite color. But hearing that speech made me feel something, a sense of great racial affirmation, an air of pride in who I was. I am Black in America, and that's not just okay, but it's great. His words not only inspired me, but made me think about the strength required to deliver them against such strong opposition. King exemplified the excellence of Black people and the power that one voice could hold. Even through the terror and hatred of white supremacy, his resilience allowed him to thrive among the most heinous conditions. King reminds us that change is not only possible, but necessary. And to attain the America spoken of in the pledge we just sang today, every day we must embody his courage and vision in everything we do. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Asha, Maxwell, and Faith, for your inspiring words and for sharing your perspectives on how we can make our community a better place for all. And listen, I'm with you. We're with you. So let's go. Let's go. So our students' names will be added to the Martin Luther King plaque in the town hall lobby. It contains, yes, that's right. You're building your own legacy right here, right now. It contains the names of all the students who have delivered a speech on this holiday since 1997. Beautiful. And when we talk about change, we think about all of the young people and all the different people that are going to come into town hall and read those names, and those names are going to be reflective of the diverse community that we have here in West Hartford, and that's inclusion, right? That's inclusion. All right, so we're going to have some greetings from our state capitol. We have Lieutenant Governor Susan Beischwitz, who will share her thoughts and insights. Please warmly welcome Lieutenant Governor Beischwitz.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, good morning, West Hartford. Oh my goodness. Asha, Faith, and Maxwell, our future leaders. Another round of applause for fabulous student leaders. And I'll just say, Asha, you had the line of the morning. Amazing. Thank you so much for having me on this very important day that we remember the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King was someone who took inspiration from the state of Connecticut. He was here as a teenager. He worked not far away in Simsbury in the tobacco fields in the summertime. And he saw hope here because you could go to church where white and black people could sit together during a service. You could go to restaurants in Hartford that would serve white and black people at the same time. And once you got past Washington, D.C., you could sit in the same train cars together. And so we have an important connection with Dr. King. Later, he returned to our state, the campuses of Wesleyan University and Yale, and spoke and encouraged people to volunteer to participate in the civil rights movement. So I think it's important to remember that we were our state was a small part of Dr. King's legacy. And so we celebrate him today. We celebrate the work that he did. But as our students have so poignantly reminded us, there's so much more to do. And here we are also on this day when a new president will be sworn into office. And so today, Governor Lamont, as we speak, is at our nation's capital to wish our new president well, because we are all in this together, and our collective success depends on his leadership. And all of us are called upon to be part of our community's leadership, of our state's leadership, and our country's leadership. And I wanted to take this moment to remember some important people who are often not named when we celebrate Dr. King's legacy. And Dr. King was a brilliant man, brilliant in part because he surrounded himself with smart, competent female leaders. And I wanted to mention some of those prominent leaders who were part of his success. People like Ella Baker, who was a civil rights leader who was an advisor not just to Dr. King, but to Thurgood Marshall and A. Philip Randall, and she dedicated 50 years of her life to the struggle for social justice. Also, Prathia Hall, a Baptist minister in Philadelphia who is known as a powerful orator. And she had a famous phrase that she used in her sermons. And it went like this: I have a dream. And it was that I have a dream phrase that is said to have inspired Dr. King's famous speech that he gave to 250,000 people in Washington, D.C. There's Dorothy Heights, the grassroots organizer, logistical organizer extraordinaire who brought those 250,000 people to Washington. She was in charge of logistics. Can you imagine bringing busloads of people and feeding them and making sure that they were safe? And yet, though she made the march a huge success, not one woman was allowed to speak on that day. And then I can't leave the podium without mentioning one of Connecticut's own, New Haven's own, Constance Baker Motley, a Black woman lawyer trailblazer who argued 10 cases before the Supreme Court that resulted in the desegregation of colleges so that Black students could attend colleges and universities in the South. And yet, she did not get appointed like Thurgood Marshall to the Supreme Court. Finally, a person who must be mentioned is Coretta Scott King, who supported her husband, raised their children, and continued his legacy throughout her life. I wanted to mention those women because they were in the church basements, on the buses, in the marches, in the streets, helping Dr. King to achieve his goals and setting in motion the civil rights movement in our country. And I'll end with this quote that seems so relevant. It's something that Dr. King said, but it is important to this moment. And so we must move out of the mountain of physical violence and corroding hatred to a higher and noble mountain of nonviolence and creative, powerful love. This is the challenge standing before our nation and our world. And indeed it is. So let us have the courage. Let us have the resilience. Let us be the light in this community, in our beautiful state, and our great country, because if we do, we will move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In honor of the late Earl Exum, I'm sorry. You know, when I was running for office, he really encouraged me.
You got it.
And I'll never forget that fundraiser when him and Tammy said, We got your back. Man, thank you so much, Earl. So in honor of the late King Earl Exum, because that's what he was, okay? The Dr. Martin Luther King Planning Committee introduced the Earl Exum Servant Leader Award. And here to announce the first recipient is another community champion, Adrian Billings Smith, West Hartford's Equity Coordinator and founder of Concerned Parents of Color, West Hartford.
Good morning. So I've been over there the entire time. I didn't even hear a speech because I keep telling myself not to cry because everyone who knows me knows that I cry during every single thing that happens. So I will not cry today. Because today is a beautiful day to recognize two very important people. One that we all know because of his global work, and he's so important to the world. Another who's important to our local world, and that is Earl Exum, who was a friend. Today we will be giving our first recipient, Mark Walker, the Earl Exum Award. But before I say that, you know, I had a phone call the other day, and they said, why are we recognizing someone on Martin Luther King's Day? And I said to them, who is a dear friend, and I said, you know, Martin Luther King is here. No one will ever meet those heights and expectations. But we have people in our community who were doing the work. And that's what's important, is that in every single community, you have people that are doing the work. Dr. King did not do this work alone, as the Lieutenant Governor said. There are so many people around him fighting for justice, and that's what we need in order to have a great community. Every single one of you, as I always say, you don't need to move a mountain, you need to pick up your rock. And that's what we have to do as a community at all times in order to move forward. So today, I would like to introduce Mark Walker. The Earl Exum Servant Leader Award is a way for West Hartford to honor and remember our friend Earl Exum and spotlight an individual who is serving others in our community. The MLK Committee has selected Mark Walker from a field of nominations of dedicated community members to be the first recipient of the Earl Exum Servant Leader Award. Retired after 40 years in the banking industry, Mark is the pastor of Open Arms Christian Ministries, a youth sports coach, a president of On the Court. He has held leadership positions on many civic and charitable organization boards, including the Mercy Community, where he is currently the chair, the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, West Hartford Community Interactive, and Smith School PTO. Fellow president, I was Aiken PTO president. Christine Luby, executive director of the Mercy Community, said in her nomination, Mark Walker embraces and advances our mission to serve as a compassionate and transforming healing presence, adhering to the core values of reverence, commitment to those experiencing poverty, safety, justice, injustice, stewardship, and integrity. Mark's gentle guidance, firm convictions, and genuine desire to leave his community better than he found it makes him an ideal candidate for the Earl Exum Servant Leader Award. Mark, please come forward.
Thank you. Mark, congratulations. I have had the amazing honor to know you as a coach, as a board member, and to know your beautiful wife and your family. And you're just such an amazing, amazing person. I want to just build on one thing that Adrian said, and I actually heard Charlie Rangel speak recently. And he was saying, Martin Luther King's not here. And so we all need to step in and be a piece of Martin Luther King. And maybe if all of us do that work, we can have the presence of Martin Luther King in full. And so I want to just say that. I also just want to recognize my dear friend Tammy Exum, who is a representative for the state of Connecticut and does the incredible hard work of moving our community forward every day. As she was vice chair of our Board of Education, chair of our Board of Education, she has worked tirelessly on behalf of our community. Her and Earl were the most powerful, wonderful people and positive, and we all are benefiting from all the work that Earl has done. And I just want to say, Tammy, you are in our hearts. Earl is in our hearts, and we love you dearly. So. And the official proclamation, whereas Mark Walker has played an integral role in mentoring and coaching the youth and young adults of West Hartford community for over 40 years. And whereas Mark Walker has taken his love for sports and created programs centered on valuing teamwork, discipline, and sportsmanship, he is committing to elevating student athletes to reach their optimum performance. And whereas Mark Walker, as president of the On the Court, has trained more than 425 kids from West Hartford and surrounding towns. He coached at Conard High School, his alma mater, the Watkinson School, and Hall High School. And whereas Mark Walker graciously volunteers his time, voice, and expertise to serve on local boards such as West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, the Conard Red Workers Booster Club, the Mercy Community, and Macaulay, where he is chair of the board of directors. He has formerly served as president of the Bridge Family Services, West Hartford Community Interactive, and the Smith PTO. And whereas through his commitment to his faith, Mark Walker currently serves as pastor of Open Arms Christian Ministry. And whereas Mark Walker embodies a servant leader because he genuinely desires to leave his community better than he found it. He is inspirational and compassionate and actively seeks inclusivity of all people in everything he does. And whereas Mark Walker was selected as the first recipient of the Earl Exum Servant Leader Award, which recognizes an individual who focuses on serving others, collaboration, and stewardship while fostering a supportive environment for people to grow to their full potential. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that on behalf of the Town Council of West Hartford and the residents of West Hartford, I, Mayor Sherry G. Cantor, congratulate Mark Walker on being named this year's Earl Exum Servant Leader Award, honoring, highlighting his incredible contributions to our town. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good morning. I first want to give thanks to God for the blessings that I've had, and I also like to thank again the Martin Luther King Jr. Committee for selecting me for this award, and also I would like to thank Christine Luby for Mercy Community Health for making the nomination. It's truly an honor. I've had the pleasure to work with Earl. He was the president for West Hartford Community Interactive, and I was the vice president. And we were very close and had a lot of communications. And you know, one thing about Earl, and that we need to make sure that his legacy continues, is that he was, you know, we talk about resiliency and his dedication and his commitment to the community. Not only him, but as well as Tammy. And you know, we need to continue to do that. And you know, that was, I think, it just exemplifies you know, what the community and what we need to do in this community. And again, I just appreciate to be part of that. You know, I was also a student at Charter Oak Elementary School and Talcott Junior High, which is no longer here, and Conard High School. And so to be able to give back to the community where I grew up as well is truly an honor. I did learn one thing today from LaToya, that I'm not old, I'm just gold. And so I'll definitely take that with me. But again, this is truly an honor that I will carry with me all the time. And I just look look forward to all the other people that do such great work here in this community in West Hartford. And just to know that I'm considered in that circle of all these wonderful people, it's just truly an honor and blessing. So again, thank you very much, and God bless.
Man, it feels good to give a Black man their flowers. It just feels so good, so good. All right, so now we have the pleasure of hearing a beautiful musical performance by Bristow Middle School's Voices of Bristow, led by the Director of Choirs, Katie Fruin, and they will perform This Little Light of Mine. Enjoy. Wow. West Hartford is truly blessed to have such amazing talent, right? Thank you for that wonderful performance, students. Yeah. And you was killing that piano. What? Man, we're going to be paying big money to see you in 10 years. Big money. All right, so now on to our keynote speaker, Kalia Alston Griffin, president of the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization, will tell us about our keynote speaker.
We are incredibly fortunate to have John Mills of the Alex Brienne Corporation with us today. John Mills is a trained genealogist, independent scholar, descendant of the enslaved, the president of the Alex Brienne Corporation, a Connecticut-based nonprofit. The Alex Brienne Corporation focuses on research, interrogation, and presentation of lesser-known stories representing the life experiences of the American enslaved. Presented from an African-American perspective, John unearths little-known people, intending to inject them into the landscape of communities where they lived, worked, or died. John's goal is to remember the forgotten, as well as apply critical thinking to our history as a means to find solutions to the many ripple effects today. Please welcome John Mills.
I'm going to take my glasses off because I haven't got the transitions yet. I haven't gotten into that cool thing that everybody has now with glasses. Tells you I might be a little gold. I might be a little. Before I get deeper into what I had intended to talk about today, I was inspired by something that Lieutenant Governor Bicewicz said. And I realized looking at our date that next Monday marks the death of gospel singer Mahalia Jackson. And, she turned down a lot of opportunities to go secular because she wanted to stay focused on her beliefs. And she, heavy backer of Dr. King, famous for being behind him at that march on Washington and saying, tell him about the dream. Tell him about the dream, Martin. And so, like the Lieutenant Governor said, there were a lot of people that were a part of that effort. And her name isn't often mentioned, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to mention it. I'm incredibly inspired by what the young people here said today. Because at their age, I didn't have that same level of insight about the time I was living in. I wasn't as, I didn't have that kind of a grasp on it. I grew up in California, just after the aftermath of all the assassinations of Medgar Evers and John Kennedy and Malcolm X and Dr. King and Robert Kennedy and Fred Hampton and Bunchy Carter and John Higgins. I mean, I could just keep going on. I had a front row seat in California to the Black Power movement at the time, the fight for MLK Day that started immediately after his death, the legislation that failed every year for 11 years around trying to get this day passed. Stevie Wonder in 1979 writing the song Happy Birthday in honor of Dr. King as a means to try to push this day to occur. Ronald Reagan in '83 finally deciding to put it into law with reluctance. He wanted it to be an unofficial day. And then after it passing, a new challenge beginning. Would states recognize it? right? And 5 states did not. They combined it with Confederate General Robert E. Lee Day and gave their citizens a chance to decide who they wanted to celebrate on Martin Luther King Day. And ironically, 2 of those states, Alabama and Mississippi, still have it that way today. In 1991, the NFL moved the planned 1993 Super Bowl out of Arizona because they refused to recognize MLK Day. The governor of Arizona publicly warned blacks not to push for the holiday. I was a big hip hop fan at the time, and I still am. Public Enemy came out with a song, By the Time I Get to Arizona, in response to what was going on in Arizona. And Arizona eventually became the last state to finally recognize MLK Day, and it still wasn't over. Corporations now had to acknowledge it and give their employees the day off. Through 2001, only a quarter of US corporations were doing that. As of 2023, it was still under 50%. I remember a coworker of mine in 2001, as my company was debating it. It's a white gentleman, he came up to me and he said, "Why do black people want that to be a holiday?" And I remember thinking, why do you see it as something only for me? So this has been a journey. This isn't something that just came and has just been. You know, this has been a 30-plus year journey for us to be standing here today, celebrating Martin Luther King Day, and the fight isn't over. I say all of this so that we don't forget the decades of battles that continue towards full recognition of this day. The fact that we stand here in celebration today is the product of endurance, resilience, of many people that are no longer with us. Some of those people are well known, but others are in the shadows. As mentioned, my name is John Mills, president and founder of the Alex Brand Corporation. We're a Connecticut-based 501c3. Our work is to research the formerly enslaved, give their history back to their descendants, then inject their stories into the communities where they lived, worked, or died. The purpose of that mission is to change the narrative of how we see the formerly enslaved and those that were in the shadows, the unknown names, the people in the shadows. Regardless of whether our ancestors were rich or poor, owned land or worked the land, they were contributors, existing in the shadows of a battle. So we want them to be seen from a place of reverence, allowing kids today to take pride and become inspired by their strength of endurance. This is a perspective I came to some 30 years ago when I discovered my grandfather, Mylon Mills, was from Texas and had migrated in the 1930s to California as part of the Great Migration. Yet when I was a child, he never actually talked to me about that. It wasn't until after he passed in '87 that I discovered all of this history, my history, which was also American history. So in 2003, I took a trip to Texas to see where his mother, father, and grandfather were buried. You see, his grandfather was a formerly enslaved man named Ned Mills, which also caused me to process that my last name likely nothing more than that of the last enslaver who owned my family. So me and my sister, we took this trip. I arrived in Texas armed with a death certificate of my grandfather's mother, Eliza Mills, which indicated she was buried at Hickory Grove Cemetery in Kilgore, Texas. I found the cemetery. It was a bright, sunny July day. The cemetery was beautiful and bright, well kept. Walking the cemetery, I found no one there I was related to. But I had this death certificate. I started to leave. As I was leaving, me and my sister noticed a lightly worn grassy path along the outside fence of the cemetery. It led into the woods, and I almost couldn't believe it because I was processing what I was seeing like in real time. I'm thinking, is this a segregated cemetery? That bright sunny day turned in shadow and shades, and it was there under leaves and down trees that I began to find my ancestors. That experience forced me to process what I now know to be true, that my grandfather and his siblings had to walk that same path outside the bounds of the cemetery, carrying their parents into the woods, all while looking at privilege in the fenced-in, manicured cemetery as they passed. And I thought about the message they may have consciously or unconsciously consumed from that experience. But more importantly, what kind of strength does it take to put up with societal inequity in all that you see, yet still persist, own the task of rebuilding the esteem of your children as they are exposed to the same messaging, all while remaining faithful and God-fearing? I present to you, that's got to be the definition of greatness. You see, I revere my ancestors. My existence and my ability to stand here talking to you is a reflection of their endurance, their strength. As Dr. King so eloquently said, everything you see is a reflection of that which you do not see. You and I are the personifications of that. My uncle, William Downey, lived all of his life within walking distance of the Lorraine Motel, where Dr. King was assassinated. I watched him leave his South Memphis home once to pick up school kids to take them to after-school programs. I watched him care for an inner-city garden to teach the marginalized and disadvantaged how to grow their own food. I watched him coach young inner-city kids on how to play baseball, sometimes purchasing their equipment himself. I watched him stock and manage a food pantry at his own home, paid for out of his own pocket. I watched those in need walk onto his porch while I was sitting there visiting, requesting food or money that he provided without hesitation. Before his death 4 years ago, he told me a story that I never knew. While we sat on his South Memphis porch, he told me of his excitement in April of 1968. He said the neighborhood was abuzz. Dr. King was in town. He had plans to attend an event where he hoped to see Dr. King. While telling the story, my uncle's face changed. He looked down, he paused, and then he proceeded to talk about the sadness and overall impact of the news we all now know well. He said, "We lost something that day. They took something from us." He used limited words, but I felt the impact. It resonated from his being. I still remember his distant glare into nothing, his injured demeanor as he said it. It's burned into my brain, him attempting to tell me about hearing of Dr. King's death for that first time. But it also explained to me the decades of service he provided to his community. He didn't stop. He continued to do what he could do until his death. So you see, we all can do that. We all can follow in today's theme, which is if you cannot fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving. And even if it's in the shadows, it's still value, because it's the collective that creates change. None of y'all know who my uncle was. But I guarantee you he impacted thousands of lives, all from the shadows. I stand on the shoulder of giants, as do you. We are the shadow cast by that which cannot be seen. We have their words, we have their motto. The only question that remains, what will you do with that? My prayer is God bless. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Mills. Those words were perfect and they align with everything that we've heard today. Thank you for the work that you're doing too, because we can't reconcile what we don't know. So connecting community to their ancestry, their history is such a powerful thing. So thank you for your work and your endurance and your resilience. So before we close with our community song, the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization invites you to their Black Business Expo on Saturday, February 1st. And we know February is acknowledged as Black History Month. And I think we have also really expanded our thinking and recognizing that Black history is every month. It's a part of history in general. And so it's 12 months throughout the year. We're gonna play a short commercial.
Hello everyone, I am Bjorn Burke, and I am the treasurer of the West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization, better known as WASCO. I also serve as the co-chair for the Black Business Expo. I am excited to invite you to a Black Business Expo on Saturday, February the 1st at Town Hall from 1 to 4 p.m. This event offers a fantastic opportunity to meet and network with people from diverse backgrounds. You'll find businesses from a variety of industries, including food and beverage, real estate, insurance, beauty, health, wellness, home health, you name it, and they'll all be there. We'll have DJ B. Davis on hand, spinning your favorite jams throughout the event. Just like last year, the expo is kid-friendly, with fun activities for children, so feel free to bring the entire family. I can't wait to see you at our second Black Business Expo on Saturday, February the 1st from 1 to 4 p.m.
Awesome. So we hope to see all of you there. And I also, just want to say, when you go to that Black Business Expo, don't just look to supporting a Black-owned business that day. Identify a Black-owned business that day that you plan to support for the rest of the year. That's my challenge for everyone, not just that day, but for the rest of the year. Whatever product they have, make it your business to put your money where your mouth is. After today's ceremony, join Connor Jr. Julian Watson for an interpretive discussion of one of the images in the MLK mural on the library wall. You can meet on the plaza in front of the Sinopolis movie theater. Oh, it's gonna be in here? Okay, it's gonna be in here. All right, so the Hall Choraleers and the Voices of Bristol are going to conclude our program with a rousing rendition of We Shall Overcome, and we invite you to sing along and follow the choir's lead with each verse. Awesome. What an amazing performance. Let's clap for our students again. All right, as they take their seats, just have a couple more announcements. So before we leave today, we invite you to check out the beautiful artwork and essays on display in the hallways just outside of these auditorium doors. Students read about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., studied his well-known speeches and his important contributions to our country, and then they wrote essays and poems about his life and created artwork and on how King's message relates to their own lives. So make sure you take a look. At this time, let's see the building community one hand at a time artwork that many of you contributed to. You bringing that forward? No? Okay. Check that out later. Yeah, check it out on the way out. And so just again, wanting to, thank our school performers, music teachers, Michael Wyatt, Katie Fruin, and Dr. Stewart Younts. And then finally, thank you all for being here today and all those who are watching from home on West Hartford Community's interactive channels. By being present, you are helping to keep Dr. King's dream alive. And I wanted to close out and read a short poem for you all. I had the opportunity this past summer to travel to Africa, which was truly a homegoing opportunity for me in my own journey of reconciliation with our past. And I had an opportunity to visit the slave castle, one of the slave castles in Ghana. So this is called 30,000 a year, because out of that castle, there were 30,000 slaves sold a year for about 300 years. 30,000 smiles and laughs and broken paths. 30,000 tears and bile, women packed with menstrual cycle. 30,000 hearts and minds who will never find the time. 30,000 humans through the door of no return. Sunday service starts on time like clockwork. A temple in the middle of the dungeon for prayer with 30,000 voices who would go unanswered. 30,000 Hail Marys to which God? 30,000 confessions to which side? 30,000 twisted beliefs to which bribes? 30,000 justifications turned lies. When 30,000 women were raped and chastised, they were blamed for it by wives who couldn't rise. When 30,000 men couldn't protect the tribe, lost dignity and pride, beginning of demise. 30,000 a year for 300 years equals 9 million people, 9 million people, 9 million people. Another 3 million from Cape Coast Castle, 12 million people from West Africa were sold out of slave dungeons. 388,000 made it to America. Descendants of the 388,000, may you live liberated, happy, loved, and dignified. Thank you.